soft bell was the first. Outside.
Oh, my room is lit up.
Okay, I'm going to get up and do the meeting, and then Prof is speaking.
It's quite a good turn-up. It's good turn-up. Quite a good turn-up.
Yes, thank goodness, thank goodness. Okay. Hello, everybody. Well, we're a little bit late, but I think with the rain, people have been held up. So a warm welcome to everyone here today, and also to those attending online. First, we'll check the audio loop. If you want to use the audio loop, it's a very good loop. And if you like to put your T switch on, they go up, do they? The captions? Yeah. We're just checking the captioning as well. Just the stream is okay? I can't see it. Yeah. Okay. Right. So, does everyone know how to use their T switch if they are to get the loop? Is it, if you want to know how to use the T switch, just put your hand up. No? Okay. All right. Well, thank you for joining us on this lovely spring day that turned to a rainy day. First, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia, to the Gadigal people of the Sydney area, in particular the Wallamedigal tribal group who lived around this area. I recognise your continuing spiritual and cultural connection to this land and pay my respects to your elders past and present. So, there's a few photos here from our events during the year. All the lovely people that come along to morning teas and barbecue days. So I have apologies from Judy Castle, our secretary, Pam Ingham, Shirley Hankey, Barry Clibborn, Beverly Toohey and Brent Lang. There are some copies of the minutes from the March AGM at the back, actually. I don't know if you saw them on your way in. We had to have 2 AGMs this year to comply with regulations because we missed the last 2 years' AGMs with COVID. So we need someone to accept the minutes from the March meeting. Did anyone have a look at them? Can we have someone to accept the minutes from the March meeting? Alan Jones, and a seconder? Alan Giles. Thank you, Alan. All right, so our morning teas and barbecue days went ahead tentatively this year at Gladesville, and it was encouraging to see 22 people come along to our last morning tea, even though it was a really wet day as well. But I often get feedback from guests that they would not have gone ahead with an implant without meeting people at Cicada and hearing their stories. So this tells me that we are doing some good work. I'm so grateful to the loyal Cicada committee who come along with homemade cakes and sandwiches and offer such a warm welcome to our guests. We've got some great helpers as well that just come along and help us set up tables and make cups of tea and introduce people to each other and help us clean up too. So thanks to all of you who help. The Next Sense conference room has been closed since March due to water damage, and so we've worked our way around that and the lengthy periods of rain, but it's open again just in time for today. So I do want to thank the Next Sense staff for helping me to get the room all ready for today, and also our sincere thanks to Next Sense management for providing us with continued use of the facilities here. That's very helpful so we can hold our events. Thanks to Steve Pascoe for setting up the live stream for us today and providing the auto captions. So we hope they all go okay. I also want to my thanks to Andrew Stewart from Hearing Connections. He stepped in at the last minute to get our audio loop working again, as it seems that it had been cut in more than 10 places by the carpet layers when they laid the brand new carpet. So, our Sydney Cicada Committee have been working towards establishing a national organisation. It's been my dream for a long time to set up a national arm of Cicada so that it's easier for implant recipients to set up their own little regional peer support group via a national administration. So as recipients, we're perfectly suited to share our stories, to encourage and reassure those who want to find out what it's like to live your daily life with an implant. For people that have been recently implanted, a peer support group is a great source of information and provides an opportunity to practice your listening skills with people who understand your situation. And so, peer support group is really a valuable resource. You can learn more about your sound processor and just accessories as well, and feel empowered to manage it better. Even a small group of 4 or 5 people can help each other and provide that reassuring community to help build your confidence. So social gatherings in person have always been Cicada's strength, and I would love to see implant recipients making connections right across the country so that we have a strong network and a voice for recipients to keep improving services for the cochlear implant. I want people to be able to go online and Google, find a meeting near me, and hopefully there's a little group nearby, no matter where you live across Australia. This all helps to build awareness of hearing loss. Next year, we hope to revive our Wollongong South Coast group, and we're also planning a visit to Dubbo to help initiate a support group in the central west of New South Wales. But I am grateful to recipients in Western Australia, Queensland, Victoria, South Australia and Northern Territory, as well as our New South Wales groups who give their time to arrange social gatherings to support our Cicada network and advocate for the cochlear implant. Recipient Ali Hicks from Victoria recently started up some social gatherings at the Wheelers Hill Hotel in this near Fern Tree Gully. And they attracted, like a good bunch of people. And then Ali teamed up with the Next Sense clinic in Blackburn, Victoria. And they hosted a lunch together at the Blackburn Centre, and that was quite a successful gathering as well. So it's nice to see people sort of putting their hand up and, just taking that on. So thank you, Ali. And also thanks to James Warledge from Next Sense Blackburn. It's a great step towards a support group in Victoria. Cicada Queensland is doing a great job growing their groups, including some online gatherings, and they're also working towards our common intention of achieving a national Cicada. We do hope all the states will join us to achieve this goal. We have to thank Cochlear Limited also, and there's a couple of ladies from Cochlear here today, Rowena Ingram and Melinda Lee, and they help us, they provide some financial assistance to cover the costs of our Buzz newsletter. We do appreciate your help, and we weren't allowed to mention it before, but they do actually have some Nucleus 8 things with them, so they might just say a few words about the Nucleus 8, and they will have a table outside to show you what the Nucleus 8 looks like. So there's been a strong push from hearing health professionals, particularly over the last few years, to try and establish hearing tests as a regular part of your annual GP checkup, and also to try and establish a clearer referral pathway so that hearing loss is more readily addressed, especially for those with severe to profound hearing loss where a cochlear implant could provide benefits, but somehow people don't always get the right information. So the peer support groups, again, can play a valuable role here, as there still seems to be quite little awareness among the general public and even some medical practitioners of how a cochlear implant works and just how effective it can be. So groups of hearing professionals from Hearing Australia, Cochlear, the Hearing Hub, Macquarie University and implant clinics across Australia are currently meeting to discuss clinical guidelines to establish best practice consistently across Australia and New Zealand. Also, the Cochlear Implant International Consumer Advocacy Group are also working on these guidelines so that there's international standards that each country can use to establish best practice. So there's a big emphasis from recipients on more availability of hearing rehabilitation for adults to achieve optimum hearing for implant recipients. So we're sort of currently seeking some funding, hopefully, to employ an executive officer to take this idea forward of a National Cicada Association. We sort of need a professional to manage it consistently and build a network that we can all utilise, preferably someone with cochlear implants who really understands the needs of this group. So if you know anyone you can recommend to fill this role, please let us know. And I'd also just say please visit the Cicada website for information on contacts in your area and also for the notice of events that are happening. Next year, International Cochlear Implant Day is Saturday the 25th of February, and we have no definite plans yet. We hope to hold some public gatherings across Australia and speak out loud for cochlear implants. So I will hand over to Chrissy Boyce, our Treasurer, for the Treasurer's report. Thank you, Chrissy.
Good morning, everyone. This report is from half of COVID lockdown, so it's very sparse. So again, a very quiet year due to COVID hanging around. So Cicada financial activity was very limited. For those that picked up a financial report, you will note that Cicada commenced 2021 with a balance of $31,895.52, ending with the balance of $29,159.26. That's about all I can give you, but if anyone would like to view the records, see me after the presentation, and you're welcome to go through them. Could I have someone accept? Thank you, Chris. Someone to second it, please. Thank you, Tobin. Okay, enjoy your day.
Thank you, Chrissy, and thank you for being our treasurer all these long years. You do a good job. I appreciate it. All right, so, our committee are now going to vacate their positions, but it seems we're all stepping back into them again. We haven't received any new nominations. However, please do talk to us if you're interested in supporting the committee, even if you don't want to be on the official committee. If you can support us in other ways, if you have skills you think can help us, just please let us know. So our new committee is me as president again. Sorry, that's it. And Judy Castle is the secretary. She's just away in New Zealand having a nice holiday. Chris Boyce, our faithful treasurer. Karen Cooper, our public officer. And Anne Durnow, who sent her apologies today. And Max Hooterman, Alan Jones and Jeff Turville. So I would like to thank our committee members for standing again. I really do appreciate your dedication and loyal support, and look forward to working with you again this coming year. So one person I would like to mention is Cheryl Missimisi. Cheryl's at the welcome desk up the back there. And I hope you're not embarrassed, Cheryl, but I think it's important to say that Cheryl was the third person implanted in Melbourne back in 1982 in Professor Graham Clark's implant program. So Cheryl had one of the very first prototype implants all those years ago, and she had to move to Melbourne. She was 18 and she had to move to Melbourne and live there for a year. And she had to go to the hospital clinic almost every day while they worked out how they could program a wearable sound processor. Like, Prof will fill you in on some of the other history, but I thought it's great to have Cheryl here, and Cheryl describes it as a leap of faith, and yet she was one of the true pioneers who helped to pave the way for all of us. So thank you, Cheryl. It is a pleasure to have you with us here today. Does anyone have any questions or comments before we close the meeting? Or what do you think about forming a national Cicada network? We would appreciate comments and ideas that you might have to help us achieve this. So speak now or forever hold your peace. No questions online from anyone? Steve? Tobin.
I just think it's a good idea. I can't fully support you about going national. Okay.
About going national?
It's a good idea.
You think it's a good idea?
And
Thank.
getting someone on
Sorry, can you just take your mask off?
On board to do the thing, to have the skills,
Professional skills.
professional skills we need.
Right, yes, we do
Really
need someone
on board with the national board.
to get us on board
Yes.
as a national organisation, yes.
I've tried all the day with all sorts of people, and I think that would be a very full-on job.
Sorry.
That would be a very full-on job.
Would be a very busy job, full-on job.
Yes. It would be sort of probably looking at someone maybe 2 or 3 days a week to set up the national sort of database and encourage support groups to sort of, join. We'll try and get people to join and start up little support groups. But, we don't know what could happen with it, but I think it would be really good to make a start and then just keep developing that national Cicada. Yeah. Thank you, Torben. So, if there's no other comments or anything, that's the close of the AGM. And I'd like to introduce Professor Bill Gibson, who has done so much to build the cochlear implant program over these last 38 years. Bill and his wife Alex have given so much of themselves, and they've been solid supporters of Cicada since the beginning in 1984. I think of them as the dynamic duo because there's two lovely people who've made such a difference to this world. And here's Prof with his medical secretary, Stephanie, who's...
Where's Stephanie?
She's a great girl. No, she's she's the one answering the phones and making all the appointments and just facilitating all the test results and things. So I thought it would be nice to have a photo of Steph there. So are you going to connect your...
Yes, please.
Okay.
So you've got a couple of minutes.
We'll just switch over to Bill's computer. Yeah, okay. While you're doing that, I'll just...
Steve,
So,
hook up.
do you want this? Have you got a C fitting? Is
I
that
haven't
yours?
brought a thing, so that's quite handy. Oh,
No, it's the wrong one. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, that's...
no, it doesn't need it. It's got lots of
okay,
battery.
okay, good. All right.
Now,
Start it up.
how does it do it? Okay.
Do that later.
See. We see
There's lots of them, isn't there? What does this one do?
power.
Oh, that's my power cable.
Oh.
It's a C fitting.
Oh, it doesn't work on
USB-C.
mine. Yeah.
Push your fingers.
Okay.
All the new laptops have the C.
Yes.
And does it make the sound?
Can I just say something about those subtitles there? Can I say something about the subtitles?
Hmm?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Hi. I just want to say something about those subtitles. We're trying them there, and you see how some of them are cut off. That's because I enlarged the font when we got here, and it takes about an hour to change the actual thing, so I couldn't get the second line to come out. And apologies for all the little mistakes as well, but
About the snow. Do you think the sound will be okay?
Yeah.
Otherwise we won't be able to hear our telephone conversation.
Oh,
That would be terrible.
it's HDMI, so usually that
It should
connects
work,
pretty
okay.
well.
Hasn't got subtitles though. Okay.
It's got captions. Yeah, it has.
Oh,
It's
very good.
recording you.
Okay, thank you everyone for coming. Great. I'm really pleased to see so many people come when it's been not a very nice day, raining, but you're now in the new conference room, which is fantastic, yeah, and a new carpet. The dogs are very happy about that. Okay. So this is a personalised history of the cochlear implant. I've been privileged because I've been involved really from even before it all began. And I'm now an E-professor, which my students tell me means elderly. Yeah, elderly professor. So you'll be amazed to know that cochlear implants began 65 years ago when two Frenchmen, Journo and Eries, did the first cochlear implant on the 26th of February 1957. And Journo, which was the Hallet of the day, developed the idea of putting a coil into the skull and transducing the current to the device. Eries was the surgeon, and he had a patient who had a disastrous surgery and had become deaf, and he put copper wires inside the ear connected to the coil. And this patient was able to hear a rhythm of sound. About 4 years later, in 1961, just before I started medical school, Dr. William House in Los Angeles was told about Journo's paper by a patient. And he had the paper, how do I get rid of that? He had the paper, translated into English from French. And he started his cochlear implant back in. Can I go back up? Yeah. And he, together with a... Oh, come on. Okay. With a neurosurgeon began the first cochlear implant in America. But many people in the 1970s said this was not possible because you couldn't possibly restore useful hearing because the patterns of stimulation and neural responses provided by cochlear implants were incredibly crude and distorted compared with the patterns and responses observed in animals with normal hearing. So some of the experts said it's not possible. And there were gloomy predictions by leading scientists that intracochlear electrodes could destroy the cochlear nerve, leaving adults or children without any natural hearing whatsoever, that the cochlear implants could never replace the complex inner ear mechanism and never give the ability to distinguish speech. And if several electrodes were inserted, they all gave the same result. So there was no need to use more than one electrode. But contrary to world opinion, Bill House and Jack Urban continued their cochlear implant program despite all the criticism, and they developed a single channel cochlear implant which was commercialized by the 3M company. And people thought this was the state of the art. And then several groups around the world started to develop their own cochlear implant programs. But there was a feeling that multiple electrodes were unnecessary and the cochlear implants could only be an adjunct to lip reading. I was involved at Guy's Hospital when Ellis Stewart was doing his single channel with Adrian Forson, and later on I got involved with the Project Ear, which was Andrew Morrison. Now there was a chap called Graham Clark, don't know if you've heard of him, and his original device, and this was a picture of him back in 1978, had 10 electrodes and it was coated with araldite. It was like a little matchbox, and Richard Dowell and people give great stories about this. So there were 3 people that really did help Graham Clark to develop his cochlear implant program. The first was Paul Traynor, who was running a cardiac pacemaker company, and he offered to help Graham Clark as a charitable thing to coat the package in silastic. Then there was Jim Patrick, and he developed 22 electrodes rather than the 10 original electrodes. And Peter Seligman, who did the first programs, which are now ancient, but that's the ones that Cheryl and Susan would have had at that time. So I was lucky enough to meet Graham Clark at the Royal Society of Medicine in 1982, and he kindly invited me to participate in his cochlear implant program when I reached Australia. At this time I was involved in the British CI group. So I went to Royal Prince Alfred, that's what it looks like, if you can't remember that. A place of excellence in 1983 I arrived, and the first thing I was told to do, because I become as the new professor, was to address senior ENT surgeons in the so-called Toynbee Club. And they were appalled when I told them that I intended to cooperate with Graham Clark and implant patients with his device. The single channel device is more suitable and can provide lip reading service. And John Tonkin, if people remember him, he'd actually already implanted 6 people in Sydney with the single channel at that stage, including Sonny Bennett. Yeah. Now, let's hope it. So the first 2 people I did was Kathy Simon and Sue Foster in 1984. Kathy Simon's just been to see the surgeon in Brisbane because she wants to have the latest, her one taken out and the latest one put in. Now, let's pray. Where's the sound? There's no sound on here.
Just stop that for a second.
Mm-hmm. There's the...
Yeah, but it's probably going through the... that's a pain. It's going through the HDMI cable.
Oh dear, that's why.
Maybe we can play those at the end. I can pull it out, but you won't be able to see what's on the screen then. Sorry, Prof.
Okay. That was the first telephone call that I did with Sue Walters, and it was the first time worldwide that there'd been convincing evidence that Graham Clark's multi-channel electrode could actually provide the ability to hear speech without lip reading, because we did it on the telephone. You probably recognise me there. So by 1986, 20 adults in New South Wales had received cochlear implants. And you see the guy in the middle didn't have one, that's me. Now, children was highly controversial because at that stage, deaf children were able to join a deaf community and they'd be happy being able to communicate easily within their community, feeling quite normal. Whereas with a cochlear implant, they may become disabled people with poor hearing, unable to hear speech properly, unable to speak properly, and unable to sign. So there was a lot of criticism at this stage about children having to receive cochlear implants. So at the time in the early 80s, it was considered correct for these children that were born deaf to use total communication. That means they used everything that was available to them. They had to use signed English, which meant that every sign had to be in grammatical context. The deaf people really hate this because it helps them to read. That was the idea. They had to reuse their residual hearing and use lip reading. Nowadays, signed English has stopped, and they use Auslan, which is a much more fluent language. To illustrate the conflicts, because there were big conflicts about the children being done, I'm going to give the case history of Holly MacDonald, the first child to receive a 22 electrode cochlear implant in New South Wales. So Holly was 4, and she had meningitis. In that stage, we weren't allowed to put cochlear implants into anyone who had useful residual hearing, so we had to prove that she was completely deaf. She had absolutely nothing. Because we had to wait a few months, she had actually lost her speech after her meningitis. So the pure tone audiometry confirmed that Holly now had no measurable response to acoustic stimulation, and she'd lost her speech. That was her audiogram. Now, it was recommended by the New South Wales Department of Disabilities that Holly should be enrolled in a special opportunity class D, doesn't stand for deafness, to learn total communication. And they had a place ready for her in the relevant unit. We wanted to do the cochlear implant. Alan Jones was involved in this, having to show his cochlear implant to the parents, but I had no money. We had no money at all to support a cochlear implant. So I went to see Larry Adler at the one of our neighbours was in Rotary and introduced me. And Larry Adler ran a thing called FAI Insurance. And I gave him the story about Holly having gone deaf, could no longer speak. And he just went into his pocket and pulled out a cheque and wrote me the $10,000, which is what it cost then to go ahead with the implant. But we still had problems because there was a lot of opposition to doing children. And the head of the ENT department at Camperdown didn't want to give me the theatre time. I didn't want the trainees to come along to the surgery. But fortunately, Dr. Henley Harrison, Dr. Ted Beckenham did support me, and they gave up their theatre time so we could go ahead with the surgery. So the surgery for Holly happened on the 4th of June, 1987. We switched her on about 3 weeks later. Used to do a great big cut then. Then the next one we did was the first congenitally deaf child in New South Wales, and this was Pia. And this went on television, and that was when she first got her hearing. There was a lot of criticism about doing this, by the way, but the good news, and that was in the papers, Pia's first sound. But as a result of the publicity, I got some funding so we could go ahead. So the Honourable Peter Anderson, as Minister of Health, provided an enhancement grant to the Royal Prince Alfred Hospital for 10 public patients each year. And the Yenabis family gave quite a large donation to the Children's Hospital to build the Cochlear Implant Centre at the Children's Hospital. But there was so much opposition, the Children's Hospital wouldn't have the centre there, even though it had been built, and we had to move out. And the Yenabis people were very upset and wanted their money back and all that stuff. And we went to Anderson Street in Chatswood, and I rented this little house. And the first children went into this little house in Anderson Street, Chatswood, which was near the school where most of them were being taught. Then Peter Collins came, who was the next Minister of Health, and he provided 10 public implants for the children, as well as salaries for 4 staff members. So we started to move, which was excellent. So from those very humble beginnings, things grew. And now the surgery is different. We don't shave half the hair away like Sue had and probably Cheryl had to put up with, but just a little cut behind the ear. And now the surgery is no worse than having minimal discomfort. They're actually doing them as day surgeries in some place, a bit like cataract surgery. And not as nasty as having a knee or a hip done. And this is, I haven't got an up-to-date slide, but things grew and grew. And we now have about 15 ENT surgeons around the state, in Northern Territories and Canberra, and even one in Victoria, who are doing the surgeries. So what I want to do, and you'll have to come and do this for me, I wanted to show you the recent video that Holly did, who was that first child that we did here in New South Wales.
Just give me a second.
Hmm? Do Holly first, I think. So while he's doing so, it's been fantastic to be involved in the whole journey, right from the beginning, before Graham Clark was looked on as being valid, and then a fight to
Just sort of keep talking, say something.
All right. Sorry about this, it's a shame. The videos didn't work. Anyway. So when we do get it going, just to remind you that Holly had lost her speech by the time she had her implant, and then for a long time. Oh, I see.
For someone to get an implant today, it's absolutely a no-brainer. It's a fantastic technology that allows people to live the life they want to live. But
Oh. What happened then? I tried to get to full screen mode.
Doesn't
There we
matter.
go. Okay.
for someone to get an implant today, it's absolutely a no-brainer. It's a fantastic technology that allows people to live the life they want to live. But back in 1987, it was a very, very difficult decision for my parents because it was brand new technology. There wasn't the examples that exist today, like myself. There was nothing for them to base their decision on except to take a leap of faith. And, you know, they were trying to make a decision of what was best for their 4-year-old daughter, thinking about what she could do with her life if she was able to hear. And the cochlear implant allowed the best opportunity for her to be able to hear. Of all the things in my life that I've been grateful for, that is right up the top of the list, because the cochlear implant is without doubt an absolutely wonderful invention that has changed the lives of so many people all around the world. When I first received the implant in 1987, the technology was very different to what it is today. The key thing that I remember is how big it was. I used to wear a big box strapped to my chest with a cord that went up to my ear and then a big on-ear part. Over the years, it gradually, very gradually, got smaller and smaller. But until I was in high school, it was always a body-worn implant. It was always just, you know, a little box that stuck out under my clothes. When I was in year 12, that was when they first developed the above-the-ear implants, and I had been waiting for one of those for so many years, and I intentionally selected a midriff-bearing skirt and top to wear to my year 12 formal because it was the first time in my life I'd ever been able to do that. When I graduated from university, I decided that I wanted to use my law degree and work as a lawyer. I actually just started a new job at the very start of the Sydney lockdown. I interviewed on the phone. And I've worked with people solely through the phone and Zoom meetings and all the kind of technology that if I didn't have the cochlear implant, I wouldn't be able to use. I really feel like without the cochlear implant, I wouldn't be able to do what I do. generally, but particularly now, with this huge focus on working from home and working with technology, I really believe that the career that I have would be very, very difficult, if not impossible, for me without my cochlear implant. I'm married with 2 young children. I have Madeline, who is my 4-year-old daughter, and Madeline is actually the same age now that I was when I got the cochlear implant 34 years ago. I also have a son called Bo, who is almost 2. Having the cochlear implant has truly made motherhood so much more special and so much easier. Number one, I can't imagine not being able to hear my children. They are just magical.
Do you want to play the other one? Yeah.
So she's lost her deaf intonation.
No, you have to go up. You can just go this side.
So Solly did have a bit of a deaf intonation, but now I can't hear any trace of any deaf intonation now. She's perfect, and she has the original implant because of meningitis we couldn't replace it, so she's still using the one that was implanted in 1987, and it worked beautifully.
Upgrade processes, probably.
Yeah, a lot of upgrades in processors, yes.
Yeah, give her better clarity.
Yeah, that's much better. So no, she's only got the one. The problem is that because it's meningitis, well, at that time we weren't allowed to do 2 implants on children because you had to leave one for the future. Nowadays you can, but in my day we weren't allowed. We'd have been crucified if we had tried to put in 2. Because what's going to happen in the future when something better comes? That was the theory. And we had to make sure they were really deaf. So she waited, and unfortunately, now it's 30 years later, it's really too late to be putting one in after meningitis. Sue can talk to this because she had a gap of 21 years, and she's managed with the 2 implants. But it's different for children because they lose the plasticity of the brain to accept it. Now, the other one, which I have to show you because you'll be amused, is me and Sue's. Oh, keep going.
Can you?
I won't find it.
I thought I had it on the right one.
Oh. Oh. Where is it? This is it.
Just
So that's it.
okay. That's what I thought. All right.
I'm going to make a telephone call to Susan Walters, who has a cochlear implant. The idea is to show you how much you can understand using a telephone. Right.
Good telephone.
Hello?
Hello, Susan.
Sorry?
Is that Susan?
Oh, yes, this is Susan.
Okay, this is Bill Gibson.
Speaking.
This is Bill Gibson.
This is
Bill Gibson.
Bill Gibson.
That's it. I thought I'd ring you and ask you about your holiday.
About my holiday. Oh, yes. Over Easter.
That's it. Where did you go?
Oh, I went down to Burning Palm, is it National Park? To walk about 3 kilometres of bushwalk down to the beach. And it's really nice, really hot day, but
Did it rain?
rain? No, it didn't.
I went to Melbourne.
Pardon?
I went to Melbourne.
Oh, you went to Melbourne?
It rained.
It rained. It always rains in Melbourne, doesn't it?
that it? You want to?
Oh, sorry. Okay. So as you can see, we haven't changed, Sue and I. We're much the same as we were 38 years ago. Okay. So thank you for listening. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Bill. I think what I might do is ask the ladies from Cochlea if you'd just like to say a few words about the Nucleus 8, and just come up. After. So would you like to just come up and say a few words about the Nucleus 8? And this is Melinda Lee from Cochlea.
Thank you, Sue. Hi, everyone. Yes, you can call me Mel. Melinda's a bit too formal for these occasions, I feel. It is a great pleasure to come up here and introduce the Nucleus 8. I mean, I think it's wonderful following on from Bill's presentation to see how far we've all come. Just to get an idea, who's got a Nucleus 7 at the moment? Oh, fantastic. And who's got a Nucleus 6? Anyone with a Nucleus 6? No, you're on a Nucleus 7. Great. That makes it slightly easier for me to talk about the Nucleus 8. So Rowena and I will be outside later on with the actual demo of a Nucleus 8, so you can come by and have a look. But the Nucleus 8 is smaller, smarter, and better connected. So from a smaller perspective, so anyone who's on a Nucleus 7, the Nucleus 8 is 15% smaller and 13% lighter than the Nucleus 7, so that will give you that next level of comfort as well as discretion. It's also smarter from your smart sound and scan point of view, so having clearer hearing in more environments than ever before. I'm even thinking in here with your Bluetooth connectivity, in the Nucleus 8 is made ready for the next generation of Bluetooth connectivity, which we're expecting to come next year. And what that can mean is even in a room like this, if you've got Auracast set up, you wouldn't have to try and focus on the microphone and listening to the speakers. The sound from the microphone can be streamed directly to all of your Nucleus 8 sound processors, all at the same time. So you can imagine also if you're at the airport, you're trying to listen to the gate that you're supposed to be at. I have trouble listening to those announcements, but with Auracast as well, you'll have those clear announcements streamed straight to your sound processor as well. So we're very excited about that new functionality that's coming. Oh, was that your hand up? Yes.
What about just general Bluetooth stuff? Because that sounds great, but that's kind of the future. And what about just going to laptops and stuff like that, rather than have to go through another device?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we do expect that the new Bluetooth LE audio, so this is aside from, so Auracast is the big broadcasting system, but just in general, Bluetooth LE audio, yes, while that is the future, we do expect that all technologies are going to adopt that as the new protocol. So right now we're using, some devices are still using Bluetooth Classic, for example, or just the Bluetooth LE Energy, but with Bluetooth LE Audio, we are anticipating that that is what all technologies are going to move towards for that Bluetooth compatibility. So we do hope with Bluetooth LE Audio, you'll be able to connect with more devices than ever before.
Sorry, the Apple
Yes.
devices already have LED in it, so...
Yes, so you can...
That means it'll work.
Repeat the question just...
Oh, yes, for the captioning, sorry, yes. The question was whether with the Bluetooth, whether we can connect to laptops and all the current devices that already have Bluetooth capabilities. Yes. Yes. So, yes, that would be the... Yes, you can. So anything that we currently have with the Nucleus 7, for example, the devices that you can connect to with Bluetooth LE there, you can still connect with the Nucleus 8. Sorry, am I answering your question? You're sorry. We're just having a conversation up here on stage. Yes, so that will give you the better connected aspect of it. So Certainly, I think I need to freshen up a bit on my Bluetooth knowledge as well, but we do hope with the Nucleus 8 that you can experience it being smaller, smarter and better connected. I should probably also add that at the moment, the Nucleus 8 will be compatible with implants from the CI24R and M and onwards. So I think there will be a few of you in the room with the CI22M. So I do need to advise that we currently don't have timelines for that yet. But for all other implants from there on, it is compatible with the Nucleus 8. But do come by and have a chat with us, and we've got a demo of the sound processor, so come and have a look and feel. Thanks so much for your time, and excited to chat to a few more of you today.
Thank you, Melinda. Just a couple more announcements before we go and have lunch. Thank you to Bill and Alex Gibson for coming along today, and to Bill for doing the presentation. We have copies of the Bill Gibson autobiography, and special just today for $25 if you have cash. Anyway, there are some available from the desk up there, and we have a raffle. Tickets are $2 each, or 3 for $5. For lunch, there's a sausage sizzle, but there's also some vegetarian options. And if you want a fried egg, you can have a fried egg cooked on demand, so it's nice and hot. And there's some salads there. So the last thing is, Cicada is run completely by volunteers, and all donations are greatly appreciated to help us continue our work. So thank you so much, everyone, for coming today, and I hope you can all come and join us outside for lunch. Okay. Thank you.